Hi, my name is Elliot Sadler. I'm a mechanical engineer graduate from CSUN. I'm currently working on my graduate degree for manufacturing systems engineering. I started with ARCS a couple years ago, actually. I've been doing research with them for several years now, and I've led several teams. Yeah, actually, my mother and my father didn't go to college. They graduated high school. I actually left the home when I was 16. I'm an emancipated foster youth. I grew up in a fairly bad neighborhood. I was in and out of gangs for most of my young life. Then I checked myself into a boys' home when I was about 16 and pursued a career in the culinary arts after that, managing restaurants for about a decade. And then I got bored and decided to do engineering and went back to college. It was pretty daunting, actually. It's taken a pretty drastic reduction in quality of life as a student to kind of, bring myself back to that stage and, pour everything into school. But the end results are so much more rewarding at the end of the day, so it's absolutely worth it. So the why I decided to do it, the triggering factor for why I decided to go from like restaurants to engineering, video games. Actually, I'll be flat out honest about it. One of the games that I enjoy the most are games where you build stuff, at either a factory or a spaceship or something like that. And I looked at a game I've been playing and realized I had 2,000 hours in it and decided, I can go back to school and actually build spaceships. That's a much better goal. So that was the triggering factor. Who inspired me? That's a harder question. As I said, I was emancipated foster youth, so I didn't have a lot of very strong role models as a kid. The people who inspired me the most actually were characters from books and from movies and things like that. A formative book that I had throughout my childhood was a series called The Wheel of Time. And if you know about it, then you know the characters in that are very nuanced, they're very developed. And the main character of that was actually a big inspiration for my kind of personality and how I view the world. So I definitely have a little bit of a hero complex, I think. Well, my origin with ARCS, it's pretty humble. I was taking an economics class with Dr. Bingbing Lee, and he asked if anybody wanted to do research, and I said yes. I was trying to get more involved in school at that point, so it was a perfect opportunity. One of the first major projects that he had us work on was the Deep Space Food Challenge for NASA. So we developed an autonomous food program for growing tomatoes and peas in space. And then we did a proposal for that. We got into phase 2. Unfortunately didn't get into phase 3, but we've now moved that to terrestrial farming. So autonomous farming is coming from the research here at ARCS. Dr. Bingbing Lee, I've been working with him for a few years now. He's a professor in the manufacturing systems engineer department. He handles theses for the graduate students, and he also does a lot of outreach and a lot of organizing of the research projects for ARCS. He has, I don't even know how many projects underneath him. We generally have a weekly meeting that takes about 2 hours for everybody to talk, so that kind of gives you an idea of how involved he is. He's absolutely a driving force here at ARCS, and an inspiration too. I very much admire his ability to juggle and organize so many different things. It does mean that as the students, we are a bit more responsible for the nitty-gritty and the actual, figuring out how to carry out of tasks, which at the end of the day is a pretty valuable experience, because it does teach you to be, kind of self-reliant and to figure out how to get to the answer you want. Okay, so for internships, that is one of the things most people are interested in when they do these programs. I did get my first internship with Goddard Spaceflight Program last semester. It was virtual, and I got to work with a gentleman there named Ryan McClellan, who's an engineer, and we did a lot of work on developing complex geometry. We called it evolved geometry. And what this is using an AI to actually drive the creation of parts. And now we're working to facilitate NASA being able to put these onto flagship missions. And there's a lot of different red flags and a lot of different hurdles that we have to jump. But over the past year, we've actually managed to jump over most of them. So it looks like we will end up with some ARCS design stuff on some flagship missions for NASA. So the internships themselves, I'll be doing it next semester as well. They're driving future interns for ARCS, which is really exciting. It's not free, we get paid. We absolutely do get paid. So no, as I said, the work we're doing is industry standard. This isn't student stuff, so we are paid compensation for that. So the thing that I love about ARCS the most is that the research we do here is collaborative and convergent. So if you're a mechanical engineer, then you do a mechanical engineer project. If you're a computer engineer, then you do computer engineering project. But here at ARCS, we do projects that span all the different disciplines. So the various research teams that I've run, we've not only had mechanical engineers, we've had computer engineers, we've had anthropologists, we've had psychologists. One of the things that we do here is we look at human factors to experiments, not just the experiments themselves. So convergence in and of itself is very important here at ARCS, and I think it's incredibly important for the industry because it is where the industry is headed. So getting the students ready for that early is incredibly powerful. Tips or helpful words for other students. The biggest thing I see students struggle with in research and school in general is a feeling of not being competent enough or not knowing what you're doing or not being capable. And the reality is everybody is exceptional if they allow themselves to be exceptional. All of the research we're doing is cutting edge, so not knowing how to do it is the point. So the thing that I love to tell students is that you are infinitely more capable of doing this than you think you are. So if you get out of your own way and allow yourself to be exceptional, you'll be surprised at what you can accomplish. Some things that I'm particularly proud of, research-wise and STEM field-wise, we have furthered some of the technology for autonomous food growth using, hyperspectral imaging and autonomous robotic control. For my NASA work for Goddard, we've actually managed to take this concept of evolved structures that NASA wouldn't even touch, and we've now gotten them to approve a couple of different programs for the next year, which is incredibly exciting. That means that we're a step away from having these things officially be introduced onto NASA missions. And one of the things I'm proud of, not for myself, but for the team I worked on, a student named Donald Palomino did recently get one of these evolved structures onto a satellite that's going up to look for hot Jupiters. So look for that next year. So how do I kind of keep track of all of these and get through all of this and manage various teams and do my classes and do my tutoring? It takes a really strong ability to plan your time is really what it comes down to. My calendar tends to be stocked pretty full, and I do that ahead of time. But at the end of the day, just being passionate about this stuff makes kind of doing all of this a lot easier. I don't tend to work 18 hours and then quit because I'm tired. I tend to work 18 hours and then marvel at the fact that I just lost 18 hours to work. But I generally have to force myself to stop working. So I'm just blessed in that way. This is something that I've learned from ARCS, and a gift that ARCS has kind of given me is this realization of my passion for these sorts of projects and for the student outreach, and then allowed me to kind of foster that. So yeah, I tend to be one of those people that someone has to tell to stop working and go rest, just because this stuff is it's so much fun. I tend to just not stop. Yeah, at the end of the day, this never feels like work. It always feels like a passion project. Even when it's frustrating, it still feels like something that I'm furthering and learning. So yeah, I do love the work. So some failures and setbacks that I've had in my research and in my academic career, everything, all the time. Like failures are a normal part of learning. I don't consider failures as a negative thing. And in fact, everything is a failure until you succeed, is really, I'm not even sure who said that. I'm sure somebody did. But at the end of the day, failures are opportunities to learn, and successes are just confirmation that you know. So I would rather fail multiple times than succeed once. There's more value in that. So if you want specific time, I can give you hundreds of specific failures, but the fact that those failures led to successes is more important in my mind. So the thing that I would love to see implemented into the community here at CSUN and into the research community is this dream that we have of ARCS called the STEAM bubble. So the idea is to create a large-scale testing facility for lunar and Mars surfaces. And then in collaboration with JPL and NASA, Goddard and CSUN, other colleges, anybody really who wants to use it, can come down and we can collaboratively test the next generation of space vehicles and space exploration vehicles. That's what I would love to see. And that's kind of something that I'm trying to work towards. Faculty members and professors that I'd love to thank, too many to count. If we're going to be short and kind of bring a couple people in, Bing Bing Lee obviously for bringing me in, Dr. Newt Ho for starting the program, Emil Hartman for allowing us to play with and use these robots that he lovingly takes care of, the office workers here, Christina and Sue. There's too many to name, but everybody involved is somebody I appreciate. So anything else I'd like to say? I would just like to reiterate to the students watching this that you are exceptional, even if it doesn't feel like it sometimes. And just keep that in mind and work as hard as you can, and you will be surprised at the things you accomplish. Other than that, thank you for having me. It's been an honor.